One of the fundamental truths about Donald Trump is that no matter how long someone has been loyal to him, if they even slightly, barely think about disagreeing with him on something, he will go nuclear. And we just now learned of a call that he had with a Republican Congresswoman, Victoria Spartz, where he started screaming at her. Oh, goodness. Even though, before getting to that, this is Victoria Spartz, a very MAGA, such that she would defend January 6th Congresswoman, but even those credentials being that wacky in favor of Trump doesn't mean he won't treat you like garbage the second you step out of line.
I know there is a lot of discussions about, January 6th, and I've been in the chamber January 6th, and I'll tell you something, we call this insurrection. I'll have to tell you, if the people that show up there wanted to do it, they would have succeeded, but they didn't show up for that reason. It was people that were upset because the quality of people came there. They were mad because we are not governing for the people. And that's
so this is the person Trump's about to get very upset with for a certain reason, okay? I mean, this is diehard MAGA right here.
Unfortunately, what was very strange to me, that Speaker Pelosi didn't have a security. Speaker Pelosi insisted for us to stay in the chamber, but I personally demanded to leave that chamber. So a lot of things, that...
You're following, right?
This I dropped the ball, and it was very unfortunate for me to see that. So I think this is beyond the subject of this matter, but we need to stop, accusing people that disagree with the government that's been very corrupt and oppressive.
You know someone's for real when they spend the whole rant just gripping their microphone. This is January 6th was an inside job. Do you hear me? She has not let go that whole rant of her microphone. Okay, so that's Victoria Spartz. Delightful. And she dared to say, hey, this Republican House budget, it goes against a lot of what we were saying we were going to do. And so I don't think I'm going to support it. And now we're learning that what got her to support it, because she did end up voting for it, the big tax cuts for the rich bill and the threats against Medicaid, which we'll talk about, Trump called her and was very angry. Trump called GOP Representative, Mediaite reports, who was firm no on House budget, fuming and screaming to change her vote. And if we jump to this, I think it was from Slate, but here's the excerpt. Representative Victoria Spartz, among the more chaotic and least predictable Republicans. I love seeing how written outlets will attempt to summarize somebody. Victoria Spartz, among the more chaotic and least predictable Republicans, they're doing their best to summarize her history, had been a firm no on the House GOP budget framework last night when she received a phone call from Donald Trump. He was fuming. In tandem with two colleagues, the Indiana Congresswoman had forced the conference to hold off voting on Speaker Mike Johnson's blueprint for Trump's tax and spending agenda. So this was when it seemed like maybe this wasn't going to pass. And there was some excitement around that. They just didn't have the numbers to pass it without her. Spartz, sitting in the Republican cloakroom, took the call, and others could clearly hear the president's voice screaming out of the speaker. By the way, excuse me, what does Trump screaming sound like? Victoria, you're ruining my life. I can't imagine that. Took the call, and others could clearly hear the president's voice screaming out of the speaker. She was a fake Republican, derailing his agenda, he yelled. He was the president, he reminded her. Spartz acquiesced, and Republican leaders called the vote again. And then Johnson said to her, like a complete spineless fool, he said, "You know what you have to do." Ominous, patting her on the back as she walked out of the cloakroom and onto the House floor. This reminds me on January 6th when Liz Cheney heard a Republican congressman as they were signing the dispute of the electoral numbers to perpetuate the idea that the election was stolen. And a Republican was heard saying, "The things we do for Orange Jesus." So Mike Johnson there is going, "Sorry, he screamed at you, so now you have to listen." Or you could stand up on principle, but they've forgotten about that. Patting her on the back as she walked out of the cloakroom and onto the House floor. Spartz posted that she changed her vote because Trump had committed to save healthcare. by passing a bill that seeks to gut it. Very interesting. Soon after, the blueprint passed with Kentucky Libertarian Thomas Massie as the lone Republican holdout. Representative Warren Davidson, also initially a no over an unrelated spending guarantee, relented after receiving a Trump call of his own. Warren, you're such an idiot, Warren. You see the report here. Others in the cloakroom could clearly hear the president's voice screaming out of the speaker, going through what we had just reviewed. And before she switched her vote, she was posting this. This is where the House budget instructions are, making deficit even worse, not even trying to look for $1 trillion hidden in automatic spending. So she was very much against it. Then, and this is a particularly ridiculous part of her explanation, she goes, oh no, I didn't change my vote because Trump screamed at me and scared me. I changed my vote because he promised to save healthcare. Who is he saving healthcare from? Himself? Because this is the bill that he wants you to pass is requiring cuts that necessarily, given the department that they're supposed to be cut from, if you just do the math, has to gut people's health care. So we're not going to then say, oh, well, but one day Trump can come back and save health care after he rips it away? Is that what we're talking about? Now, remember at the cabinet meeting when he was asked about this, and he again lied to our face, and said, no, I'm not going to touch Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid. And watch this, and then we'll fact check it. By the way, if you are not subscribed to the channel, the millions of you who watch every day, I see you, and aren't subscribed, please do. And then if you want to go a step further, get the members only bonus show. We have a really fun time on that, and it supports the work that we do. You can do that by clicking the join button on YouTube below.
Tonight aims to cut $2 trillion.
Right.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. Okay? This will not be read my lips. There won't be read my lips anymore. We're not going to touch it. Now, we are going to look for fraud. I'm sure you're okay with that, like people that shouldn't be on, people that are illegal aliens and others, criminals in many cases. And that's with Social Security. We have a lot of people. You see that immediately when you see people that are 200 years old that are being sent checks for Social Security.
Look at just the absolute vibrance. The vibrance, energy, joy, passion in the face of Marco Rubio. That is someone who, after calling Trump a fraudster and so many other things, and criticizing the size of his hands, and the hands might be indicative of something else, he now has to sit there and pretend like any of this makes sense.
Some of them are actually being sent checks, so we're tracing that down, and I have a feeling that Pam is going to do a very good job with that. But you have a lot of fraud. But no, I'm not.
So I guess that's the new talking point. Yeah, whenever we pass bills that require cuts that would reduce people's benefits, no, we're just going to find all those savings from fraud. Well, that doesn't. Every single investigation ever into fraud in these programs has never, ever even barely come close to seeing the numbers that you're talking about. USA Today reports what is in the just passed House Republican budget bill, what to know. As a reminder, this hasn't yet passed the Senate, and there's some turmoil there. But if it does, clearly based on Trump screaming at people over it, he wants to sign it into law. Well, of course he does. I mean, this extends his tax cuts for the rich, which really seems to be the thing he's most passionate about. After a long day of arm twisting and internal party clashes and angry phone calls, House Republicans on Tuesday narrowly passed their plan to advance President Donald Trump's legislative agenda. The GOP plan was passed there. Let's skip forward. After the House plan passed on Tuesday night, Trump congratulated Johnson. Woohoo! Look at this. Now let's start to balance the budget. Wait, you're saying you want to balance the budget when you just pass something that adds trillions to the deficit? The House's plan would set up a massive reconciliation bill that would extend Trump's 2017 tax cuts and implement new ones at a cost of $4.5 trillion over the next decade. It would also allocate $300 billion for spending on defense and border security, raise the debt ceiling by $4 trillion over 2 years, and add almost $3 trillion trillion to the federal deficit over 10 years. So the way that we balance the budget is making it less balanced. Does that make sense? We're going to balance it from the perspective of imbalance. We're going to move ourselves in a more balanced direction, but backwards. The budget blueprint would also direct multiple committees to cut billions of dollars, including, and this is the key part, $880 billion in cuts spearheaded by the Energy and Commerce Committee. Because Trump has ruled out cuts to Medicare and Social Security, budget experts say that may necessitate cuts to Medicaid, which is under that committee's jurisdiction. That figure in that being headed up by that committee for those departments, it is nearly necessary, required, and many Republicans have admitted this, despite Trump disputing it, that it'll have to come out of Medicaid. You're not going to find $880 billion of fraud, okay? That's just not a thing. It's just not. It's not. And so over and over, they're looking right in our eyes and they're lying to us. Some of them aren't. Some of them have admitted, yeah, heck yeah, we're going to reduce funding to Medicaid. But many of them, as you saw there with Trump, lying. And this is what he's willing to fight so hard for. You're a fake Republican, Spartz. I hate you. You're so fake. He's willing to go to bat for something that would make our debt problem worse, which he said cutting benefits for us is necessary because of the debt, but now you're making it worse to the tune of $3 trillion? $3 trillion, that's a lot, if you don't know. And then cutting people's benefits. So making the debt problem worse, cutting people's benefits, and cutting taxes. And yeah, more than just the rich on paper will have certain tax breaks. We're waiting for more specifics to come out on the exact plan here. But we know, based on the extensions of Trump's 2017 tax bill that we've thoroughly analyzed, that this would be disproportionately a shift of wealth towards the wealthy. If you think those three priorities make any sense, why are you watching this show? Share your thoughts in the comments.